All right. Let's get our Facebook folks in here and we can start the show. Not too bad. Not a little bit late. That's okay. 1 and 2. All right, folks. Welcome in. It is Monday morning. It's kind of a weird Monday considering Denver played Thursday and a lot of fun football this weekend. I was a little bit bummed to see the college football playoffs, kind of all duds, none of them that interesting, but we'll see what happens with the rest of that. How you doing, Scott? It was a lot of fun to talk Falcons this morning with another rookie quarterback. I mean, are we on the doorstep of a historical rookie class? It might be looking like that for the quarterback spot.
We might be. I mean, for us old guys, the class of '83 was always kind of the one people reference. For me, the wide receiver class was 2011 because that was the 2008 when I was in high school. That was AJ Green, Julio Jones type. But the 2024 class has now played 5 rookie quarterbacks, and for the most part, all of them look like they deserve to be taken in the first round, Nick. And the one that we're missing got hurt was J.J. McCarthy, and frankly, he wasn't playing this year the way Sam Darnold's playing anyway, and that's okay. He's 21 years old.
Yeah, and Sam Darnold is going to get paid this offseason. We keep talking about how, sorry, Colorado fans, but the NFL views, me as well, this upcoming quarterback class is not very good, and so that's going to be a huge benefit for Sam Darnold. And we'll see what happens. I mean, Brock Purdy's not playing very well either. We'll see what happens. Maybe Darnold ends up back in San Francisco. I thought they maybe should have gone to him last year too, but who knows? We'll see here. And yeah, man.
All right. How bad did it go? I was looking up the schedules. It looks like Nick has got some serious internet problems going on right now. But welcome in everybody. This is Broncos for Breakfast. And I know we've been a little spotty here recently, and I got news for you. We're going to be a little spotty here moving forward. We're not going to be here this coming Wednesday. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays to all of you who decide to celebrate. And for those of you who don't, enjoy a day off. So we will not be here on Wednesday. Just a little programming note for everyone. But lots of football. That means we've got Wednesday football for the first time in a long time, Nick. I'm actually kind of excited for this.
Yeah, I'm not all about the NFL encroaching on college football, right? Like yesterday, I was like, man, I really wish that Steelers-Ravens game or the Chiefs-Texans game would have ended up being on Sunday instead, because the Sunday slate felt a little...
Yeah, but the NFL's always played Saturdays after the football season's over. This is the end. This is college trying to expand into NFL territory.
A little bit. I'm with you.
It's been an unholy coalition and a partnership to suppress workers' rights for the college football players with the monopoly that these guys have had on the product for the last 100 years. Now they're in competition with one another. Things are going to change a little bit, but we can talk about that on another day.
I mean, we'll talk about it also. I wish the NFL needs to change it where it's only you have to be 3 years out of high school. There are some dudes
they will change.
They have to.
They will change the rules some way, somehow, because now they're in competition with players. This will be more like Major League Baseball, where if you do go to this college or do this, then you have to be in for 3 years. But if you want to get drafted out of high school, you can. If you want to go to junior college and get drafted, you can. If you want to get drafted, you can get drafted. I wish they'd all do it like Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I don't have to announce for the NFL draft, I don't have to give up my eligibility just to see if you want me. You got to convince me to come out.
Yeah, there are some guys like at the skill position specifically that shouldn't have to waste the time in college. Now, granted, I'm glad they're getting paid now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
The running backs are the big one for me.
For sure, running backs, but they're like sophomore, true freshman wide receivers sometimes, or cornerbacks, and it's like, why are we
for their health wise? A running back is more valuable to a college team than he is an NFL team. We've just seen the impact that they have. That I can be a $2 million running back at a big time university, or I could be a day 3 pick in the NFL. Well, guess what? I'm gonna get paid instead of making me take the wear and tear and take 200 more carries my junior year of college for under the table money handshake boosters or whatever. I can make $2 million now. I'm here for it. Again,
quarterback.
We're way off the rails here.
I just want to give a shout out to Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, because oh my God, Scott, if he was in this draft class, he'd be up there with Travis Hunter as the first non-quarterback.
They get paid though. It's like for me, I'm especially happy for the running backs. That college football players get paid because they earn the least for the most work in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. And off the rails, unfortunately, this week, everything kind of went wrong for the Broncos as far as the playoff picture goes, Scott. You had Denver obviously losing. If Denver would have won, they would have clinched the playoffs for the first time since 2015. I think they entered this week, according to NFL's.com's playoff percentages, at 91%. They leave this week all the way down to 76. How does that happen? How'd they drop that much? Obviously, they lost to the Chargers. That's the biggest one, of course. But also, you have the Colts winning. That's a big one. Now, you do have the head-to-head with Colts, but unfortunately, Broncos country, it's good to win games. But Denver's won the games you probably wouldn't pick if you're talking tiebreakers. Going 4-1 versus the NFC means they are about 500, maybe a little less versus the AFC. And after the head-to-head, it's the conference record that is your secondary tiebreaker, and also the tiebreaker if it's more than two teams that are head-to-head. So let's say the end of the season, the Broncos lose out and they end up with the same record as the Chargers and the Colts. Even though you beat the Colts, that's not the tiebreaker anymore. It is going to come down to the head-to-head, or not the head-to-head, but the conference record, and the Colts have you there. So you still control your own destiny there, but they're still in it. You had the Colts. Titans made a valiant effort there at the end. They came back, but the Colts beat the Titans. You had the Dolphins beat the 49ers, so they're still in it as well. You had the Bengals beat the Browns pretty handily, man. The Browns looked dreadful in that game. They're going to be interesting to watch the Bengals. I think that defense was a little bit fake versus Dorian Tomlinson-Robinson or whatever, the DTR for the Browns out there, not looking very good. I'm sorry for anybody who had Jerry Jeudy on their fantasy team. Once they sat Jameis, it's like, oh, well, Judy's stats are probably going away. And they did. And also, unfortunately for Denver, not as much directly an impact on Denver's playoff chances, but something that will potentially change the math here going forward is you had the Bills coming back and beating the Patriots. So if the Bills would have lost, the Chiefs only needed one more win there at the end, and it would have been close. Now it's possible that the Chiefs have to win that last week to clinch that one seed, because the Bills do own the head-to-head tiebreaker. So we'll see what happens there. But it broke as bad as it possibly could for the Broncos, but you still only have to win one of your next two games. So everything is still in your control. You just have to win and get in. And also, Scott, the other aspect of this is it's both negative and a positive. We talked about it on Friday, but it was like, oh my gosh, Denver needs to make sure they don't get the 7 seed. They don't want to go to Buffalo. Well, I think the Steelers are still in first place in the AFC North, but it is trending towards the Steelers probably losing the AFC North, I would reckon now. And that would be either if you're the 6 seed, you're heading to Baltimore, or if you're the 7 seed, you're heading to Buffalo. Both of those are equally terrible matchups. So I think it doesn't really matter 7 or 6.
Gatorade Gaming. I just got that when I said it out loud and I heard it. See, I talk to myself a lot. I process things better when I hear it. That's Gatorade. That's the water boy. I just got that. It says, I think it would be destiny to play the Steelers in the first round. I was thinking about this as I started this comment when we were waiting to come in. I was like, because the way things line up now, Broncos could play the Steelers, in the other show we do. And Michael, thank you for coming into the Falcons and supporting Nick and I on that this morning. I forgot to say that this morning. Apologies. We know you're there and you know how much you mean to us. The Falcons could play the Vikings. It's like when they take Kirk Cousins, that's losing some of its luster with Michael Penix starting. But it's the scriptwriters seem to have gotten it right this year. Looking and the thing is, we talk about these conversations and how much our perceptions and our expectations have changed, and I see people say, well, the Broncos don't deserve a playoff spot. I'm like, guys, have you seen the teams behind the Broncos? The team right behind the Broncos are the Colts. They're terrible. Don't tell me you don't deserve a spot over the Colts. Come on. You saw the Colts. Mm-hmm. So yes, if you get in now, are you really a huge contender or are you an underdog? Well, you're probably an underdog, but these are conversations that we weren't expecting to have 2 days before Christmas with a team eating $80 million of dead cap and a rookie quarterback. These are good questions and problems to have right now, and I'm here for it. And you know what else we're here for, Nick? We're here for Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. Join over 5 million fans who are already playing on Underdog. With their pick'em game, you could win money just by making entries with your favorite players. Compete against other players just by selecting higher or lower on 2 or more players' stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. Turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog.
With our champs game, you could win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on players' stats, such as passing yards, interceptions, touchdowns, and much more. Like, for example, will Bo Nix have higher or lower than 237.5 passing yards next week? We'll see. Will Nix have higher or lower than 1.5 passing touchdowns? Can they run the football in the end zone? Who knows? Every dog deserves a second chance, and with Underdog Rescues, you can get your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes your entry to lose.
Speaking of promos, download the Underdog app today and use code MHuddle to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, download the Underdog app today and use our code MHuddle to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Every player, every touchdown, just select higher or lower on Underdog.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Appreciate everybody there. Shout out to Underdog for supporting us, and also shout out to Michael Ronquillo for supporting us as well. Hope you're doing well down there in, I'm sure, pretty warm Tucson. It's actually, Scott, I was dreading coming back to Iowa just because, I'm kind of soft now from the Pacific Northwest, but I think we have forecasts in like the mid 50s, 60s. So it's going to be a warm Christmas. Bring out the grass skirts. Should be a good one. Coconut bras. Speaking of
grass skirts, we got our guy Patrick in Hawaii. He says aloha and mele kalikimaka. Merry Christmas to Broncos for breakfast and the Bronco verse and the Falcon verse also. Patrick helps support the Falcons podcast and Broncos for breakfast. So big partner, and he's up early out in Hawaii. What is that? It's 10 o'clock where I am in the South. Is that 5 hours now? 6 hours?
I think it's 5.
It's 5, so 5 a.m. Good morning, Patrick. Get some Broncos for breakfast and some Lion coffee. Bo show.
Yeah, shout out to him. Obviously, you guys know I drove from Seattle back to East Iowa for Christmas, and my mom said, hey, would you please bring some Lion coffee? Because she loves to have some when she comes visits in Seattle. And my little guy, of course, had some sort of daycare plague. So he was at daycare for like an hour, and they're like, okay, he threw up and had a diaper explosion. Come get him. So chaos, trying to pack the car and get everything together. And in all that, I forgot to bring the Lion coffee. So I'm like, Patrick, SOS, I need some Lion coffee. And he said, I got you. Where am I sending it? Sent a care package to my mother and myself. So enjoying some today, and much needed. My family dog passed away on Monday as well, 14-and-a-half-year-old Westy. And it's been pretty weird vibes out here in Iowa because obviously happy back for Christmas, grandbaby, first Christmas home, family dog passed away. Happy to say goodbye, but my mother definitely needed the pick me up this week. So shout out to you, Patrick. Shout out Lion Coffee. And my mom's listening and watching right now. Love you, Mom. It's been waves of emotion with the dog passing away. As you know, Scott, we're big pet people.
Yes, I know. And you go and you think, oh, I can't do this again. And then you're like, okay, I'm ready for another dog. So I get it. I'm right there too. I had a 12-year-old shepherd on his final journey here. But going back to more happier things, talking about the Cincinnati defense. It's funny. Their defense, they've got the ability to strangle bad passing offenses and then absolutely get lit up by anybody that's any good. If you look at some of the passing yards, they gave up 125 yards passing to the Cleveland Browns. Okay, that's phenomenal. 291 yards passing to the Titans. Okay, that's bad. 166 to the Cowboys and Cooper Rush. Well, that's pretty good. And Cooper Rush has been playing pretty well. But 410 yards passing to the Steelers, 280 to the Chargers, 290 to the Ravens, 157 to the Raiders. So Bo Nix can stat pad some against these guys. I feel confident. And Nick, we were looking it up. We talk about the running game and stuff, and that's some of that is just Sean Payton's DNA. We said it last year. If you look at the numbers of Russell Wilson, and if Bo Nix were to replicate the touchdown versus interception numbers, he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. Well, he's going to be close, and he's pretty close on both of those. I looked up passing touchdowns versus non-quarterback rushing touchdowns last year, and it was like 28-5. So Russell Wilson had 4 rushing touchdowns. He only had like 5 rushing touchdowns. Sean Payton wants to quarterback stat pad. He wants to. This year, it's like 23-4 or 23-5 for passing touchdowns to non-quarterback rushing touchdowns. You get inside the 10, he wants to throw it in. And frankly, Nick, he's good at it. He's really good at it. How many walk-in touchdowns do we see off of screen passes or bootlegs, RPOs, basically, read option plays with the last 2 years with Sean Payton's offense?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of that. Of course, they're getting in the design there. I'm hoping that they stick really consistent with the run game this week. This is Denver's easily their best matchup as far as rushing the football they've had in some time, probably since the Falcons game, Scott. The Bengals this season have been one of the worst rushing defenses in football over the last 6 weeks. If we're excluding turnovers, there was that crazy Tennessee Bengals game. So I'm looking at excluding turnovers because those are volatile and not super predictive. But
there were 6 turnovers in that game for that the Cincinnati Bengals defense got. That's nuts.
There was 10 total. The Bengals also turned it over 4 times. It was the most turnovers and like penalties in a game since like the 80s or something.
Bad football, dude. Bad football.
It looked like a MAC game kind of thing going on there, but that's a Tuesday night MACtion. But I digress.
The MAC, you get some pretty good coaches out of the MAC because they actually have to play football. They can't just out recruit guys.
No, that's very true. But speaking of which, the Bengals defense has been bad. It's been bad on the season on the whole. Over the last 6 weeks, which is a pretty robust sample size, excluding turnovers, the Bengals have the second worst rush defense per EPA per play in the entire NFL. On the season, they have the 27th ranked run defense according to DVOA and the 29th ranked overall defense. So this is a game where I'm nervous because I don't know if we want to see the Broncos playing catch up. We have to go score for score, drive for drive. I don't know if Bo Nix can operate the drop back game that way. We kind of saw that in the Cleveland game. So I guess there is proof of concept that he can do that, but I don't think that's where Sean Payton wants to be. I don't think that's where the Broncos want to be. I'm hoping this is a game that much more reflects the offensive kind of style of that Chiefs game where it's long ball control drives. You're rushing the football. You're protecting the football. Obviously want a better outcome than that. But I don't think this needs to be a game where the Broncos try to play Big Ten football, so to speak, and run the football, possess it. The less possessions, the better. Because I think that in a smaller sample size, rushing the football, keeping the Bengals offense off the field, that really favors Denver, in my opinion, overall. Because you just don't want to have Burrow get many opportunities. I mean, let's be real, Scott. Burrow is probably playing football quarterback as well as anybody in the entire NFL right now. But the offensive line is mediocre, and the defense, as we talked about, bottom 3, bottom 5 in the NFL will keep Burrow out of the playoffs, maybe, but definitely out of the MVP conversation, even though he's playing at an MVP level.
You know what type of level he's playing at is Deshaun Watson before he got suspended for the year. Remember the numbers he put up? It was like 35 touchdowns against 5 interceptions and 4,000 yards, and they were 4-12. That he's playing at that type of level, which is just, out of this world. Now, I'm going to rapid fire this because I want to get your instant reaction type of thing. Okay. So just don't think, just answer. Orange or blue?
Orange.
You're thinking too much. Don't wait. Don't think. NFL or college football?
NFL.
Broncos, Bengals, spread.
2.5 Bengals.
It's 3.5. That surprises me a little bit. The Bengals are favored in this one. They're favored by 3.5, which is actually a decent sized spread for this game. I like the Broncos just because of the matchup. Their defense, while hasn't been top 3 the last couple of weeks, they can pressure the hell out of the quarterback, and the Bengals like to give up sacks and turn the ball over. So I think this is a game where they can win the game on defense and then lean on the short passing game and running game and move the ball. And again, Sean Payton, these guys revert to norm in crucial situations. In crucial situations, Sean Payton wants to pass to win. That's just default in his brain. That's why he writes down, run the damn ball, Vontae Mack, no matter what, because when it comes down to it, I want to throw to win. And he's been very, very successful doing that through the years. And you got to take the good and the bad with some of this stuff. You know, we talked about this before, Nick. You know, he's an assassin. He's greedy. You know, is it the time to be greedy on your own 15-yard line with 47 seconds left? I knew he was going to go for a play on the first one. You knew it was. It's like, okay, he believes in 47 seconds. He can get 40 yards and get a touchdown. So a passing play on the first play wasn't a bad choice, okay? But he lost 3 yards. It's 2nd and 13. Now, if you pick up 10, you do it again. But on 2nd and 13, you probably should have just gone ahead and ate it. And that cost the team 3 points in that situation. But that's just who Sean Payton is. And you wouldn't be 9-6 looking at a playoff berth if it weren't for Sean Payton, period. So you got to take a little bit of the bad with the more good. It definitely outweighs itself, Nick.
The thing that I kind of question, it's not the play there at the end of the second half. It's not going for it on 4th and 5 when Justin Herbert has been unconscious there at the end. He finishes this week, I think, out of 40 qualifying quarterbacks, the second best EPA per play drop back in the league this week. I think Penix was 3rd, Scott, but the interception wasn't qualified because it was ambiguous. Fumble, turnover, interception. I don't know. I saw Kevin Cole, who had the stats there, didn't qualify that. But Herbert was the second best quarterback in the NFL this week in EPA per play. That's despite an interception and everything. And Denver's defense has been flailing here as of late. It's really kind of feels right now they've turned into the midseason 2023 defense where it's like, okay, the numbers look good overall when you look at it. Wait a second. 3 defensive touchdowns. The crazy drop play by Jonathan Taylor that just like a gift from God, from the football gods. What does the stats look like when you exclude turnovers? Because again, the turnovers say what happened, but they're not exactly predictive for the future. So that's why they actually have the option to exclude turnovers. And when you exclude turnovers over the last Broncos 3 games, 4 weeks overall, Denver has the 5th worst defense in all of football, Scott, and they have the bottom 4 pass defense. So obviously you had Jameis Winston destroying them. Not a great game statistically versus the Colts as well, even though Anthony Richardson was not playing good football. They were moving the ball until you got a lead there. And then you had just a horrible game defensively versus the Chargers. So this is probably there's a chance this is the best offense you will have played all season in the Bengals game. And I'm really worried about this defense right now. I think we should get Moss back. Maybe that changes things, but they're not getting home with 4 consistently. The linebackers are abysmal. PJ Locke is not playing great football. He had that good turnover versus the Colts, but he's not playing good football right now. And again, I had to come back to the linebackers are just absolutely dreadful right now. So I'm pretty worried about the Denver defense on the whole, especially in this matchup.
David comes in, and there's a thought about this. You don't want to back into the playoffs, and I get that. Again, I just said in the previous show, David, I would rather go 10-7 and miss the playoffs, you know, finishing strong but not strong enough, feeling good about the future than, you know, backing into the playoffs after losing 3 straight and then getting blown out in the first round. You know, and people say you're crazy. It's all about the playoffs. For me, no, it's not. You know, we'll be here next year. And I'm looking forward to next year, and I don't want to be thinking, oh, yeah, this team really sucks. So David says, call me crazy, but I do not want the Broncos to earn a playoff berth by beating a Chiefs team resting its starters. Okay, I understand. You don't want to back into the playoffs either, but if I were to say at the beginning of the season, you're going to earn a playoff spot by going 10-7, you take it. You snatch my hand off taking that. And you could earn the playoff spot, you earn the playoff spot by going 9-5. You know, you earn the playoff spot by winning those games in the middle of the season by, as Nick likes to say, eating your veggies beforehand so you could have the dessert at the end. You've put in the work on this, that if you win 10 games, especially as dreadful as the rest of the bottom half of this division is, this conference is, you've earned it. 10 wins is a legitimate season, even if it was, you know, 9-7, because, you know, you made it to week 18. The Chiefs aren't the only team that are going to be resting their starters on week 18. So 10-7 for me, there's nothing to hang your head about on that one. That's a really good playoff worthy season for me, Nick.
Yeah, and a back end, whatever. I mean, it all comes out in the spread in the end. I saw some people talking about, like, imagine where Denver would be if, the Chargers game didn't end up that way, and if the block kick didn't happen, it's like, well, imagine if the Jets hit the winning field goal, or Jameis Winston doesn't throw a crazy pick six, or Javonte Taylor doesn't drop the football, right? It all comes out evenly in the end. I think your bigger complaint here, David, and it's kind of coming back to college football on this one, maybe 7 teams aren't deserving of getting in. Maybe it should have stayed at the 6, but money at the end of the day is what's driving this. Shout out to our super chat givers.
Yeah, they're not contracting the playoffs. That's for damn sure.
No, absolutely.
You haven't seen anybody in the history of sports say, you know what? 8 teams was too many. Let's go back to 4. No.
Yeah.
We want to give as many people as many second chances as possible because it's good for ratings at the end of the year.
Yep. And it's also something that drives me nuts. I've typically liked Kirk Herbstreit's announcing, but his whole SEC talk here recently, like the games have to matter. They have to be stakes. And also it's fun to talk hypotheticals, but at the end of the day, it's about the results of the game. And Denver, if they get in, they're going to get blown out by the Bills on the road or the Ravens on the road. You know what? 9 out of 10 times, maybe. I want to see it. Let's see what happens. Play the game.
Then realign things. Then realign it and put everybody in one conference and say that the top 8 records go. And let's get rid of divisions.
I'm even talking like the Broncos making the playoffs for this one. It's like, who cares? Like if they get blown out, probably if they played the Bills right now, Denver loses 9 times and they probably get blown out in 4 of them and they win 1 close. Let's say 8.5. Let's make it a little bit bigger. But you know what? You play the game. Maybe you get your best shot that day. If Denver was a worse team last season and they went into Buffalo and won. Now, granted, this is a much better Bills team this season, but there's a reason that you go play the game. It's not played on paper, right? Hypothetically, Alabama, whatever, should win every single game. The Chiefs, or I don't know. The numbers are the numbers, but in the end, they're hypotheticals and they should inform the results. But once you step on that field, screw it. Anything can happen, especially in the NFL. So get in, backing in, whatever, make it. Just make it and go as far as you will.
And that's the problem with the playoffs is your season ends up getting defined by one single game where, I've enjoyed the Denver Broncos this year. I thought they've played really good football. If they go 10-7, that was 4+ months of, that's 18 weeks. I've enjoyed watching this team. That at the end of the day, and I'm not a fan of playoffs. Maybe because I haven't had very good experiences in them throughout my life, but I like watching meaningful games in September. I'll go through 18 weeks, and at 18 weeks, 10-7, that's a successful season to me. Playoffs be damned. That's a good building block because like I said, we'll be here next year. This isn't the end. We're going to go into the offseason with pretty high hopes for this team if you go 10-7 this year.
I mean, heck, Scott, even if it's 9-8, now losing 3 in a row with, only needing to win 1 and getting left out, that would be a kick to the nards for sure for the Broncos. But on the whole, you're looking pretty good. Now, granted, we're still going to have big picture questions. Like, is Bo Nix a superstar quarterback, or is he in the Brock Purdy, Derek Carr category of like, we love him on the rookie contract, but then when you have to pay him, what does that look like? That's a question for down the line, right? Like we can start to formulate that right now, but that's going to be answered over time. The sample size is not there yet. We need to see different iterations of this Broncos team in offseason with Nix here, blah, 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 blah. But as Monica says here, I want this young team to get a sniff of the playoffs feeling. So next year they are more determined. Yeah, it matters.
I wholeheartly agree with this, Monica. And I've seen other people make this statement, and I just happen to see this one from Monica right now. I agree with this wholeheartedly. A playoff environment and the extra time to prepare and, an extra game of experience and getting that, it's a different level of intensity because we focus so much on the playoffs that it's an extra level of intensity. And this young team will play in meaningful playoff games. Even if you were to go and get blown out this year, you learn from that. You absolutely learn from that. So I agree wholeheartedly.
So it should be a pretty good game. I'm not going to give my prediction today because I still got some time. Want to see injuries and everything. But as you said, was a 3.5 spread for the Bengals?
3.5. It's Bengals 3.5. That's let's see. I would think I would set the over under somewhere around 51 on this, like 27-24. If you're talking a 3-point game, maybe a little bit lower, 24-21. So let's say 48. What does they say? 49.5. Yeah, that sounds about right.
I might take the over on that. And we're going to see also. So this Broncos defense has been sliding as of late. They were playing great football. And if you include the defensive pick sixes because of just how incredibly weighted they are, Denver's defense looks still pretty good in terms of the EPA per play over the last 4 weeks. But again, the Denver's defense is good if they get a defensive touchdown. Well, la-di-da. Like that's great that it happened. But if you are needing that qualifier to have a good day, you're going to be in a world of hurt. That's like saying our offense is going to be good only if we hit a grand slam today. Like, okay, what are the odds of that? Not pretty good. So we'll see what happens here. And the big question, obviously, we're going to see if he plays. I'm guessing based on Peyton's comments and everything, he will. But Riley Moss, how much does that change the defense? They've been struggling to get pressure consistently with 4 for the most part. Actually, I think Justin Herbert ended up being one of the more pressured quarterbacks in the league this last week. And he was just, he's
been taking a bunch of sacks lately, Nick.
He didn't take a lot of sacks versus the Broncos, and he like 2 of the best games of his entire season have come against Denver, unfortunately. Gosh, when he plays like that, there's very few quarterbacks who are better than that. But he took a lot of pressure. Just Denver hasn't been finishing as much on the 4s with 4-man rushes. And again, the zone coverage, the passing off there has not been as good. You haven't seen as much of the explosive plays from Denver on that side positively. So if Moss comes back, does that change the formula? I hope so, because they have not been as good of a defense, and it's not the fault of Chris Abrams-Drain or Damari Mathis the last 2 weeks, but I think the style of defense they play lends itself to more cracks in specifically the middle of the field with the safeties and the linebackers.
Yeah, just looking at the last several weeks since the turn of November, the number of sacks he has taken is for Herbert has taken a 6, 0, 2, 4, 5, 3, 3, and then 2 for Denver last week. So he's been getting sacked a lot, but I thought their tackles did a good job on the outside. And again, why are you playing more zone on this? Because you don't really trust the Chargers' weapons to beat you. They should have played more man-to-man against these guys. So that I totally was opposite. The theory goes, if you don't trust the quarterback, you play zone. If you don't trust the weapons, you play man. So I agree on this. You probably should have played a little bit more man against these guys.
I think so as well. I think your concern was that the way they're calling plays, they don't think that Chris Abrams-Drain can tackle in the open field to save his life. So they're trying to protect him with zone coverage because they would try to get perimeter runs going and whatnot. They also ran I won't say exclusively, but they tried to just run at Nick Bonito, which it's always going to be a weakness of his game. He's such a good speed rusher now that whatever, it's fine. But they tried to
I'll take the good with the bad because the good outweighs the bad.
Absolutely. Yep. It's like a guy, home run hitter. He's going to get some strikeouts, but man, he's getting on base still pretty well. He's swinging through, but he's not swinging at bad pitches and hitting some homers as well. But always with the baseball analogies in here. I don't know. That's what I was born and raised on. The Broncos, it's going to be a very interesting matchup against the Bengals. Their offense is obviously one of the best in football, and Joe Burrow is playing as good of quarterback as anybody in the NFL. Scott right now, I don't think he's I have a tier 1 and a tier 2 of quarterback play, and Burrow's in that tier 2. I would forget probably. Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, I'm taking them over Burrow. But after that, if you want to argue Herbert, Burrow, or maybe this is a spicy one, but Jordan Love, I think he's in that next tier for me.
And if you're talking quarterback play this year, Mahomes isn't in tier 1.
No, but I'm career.
Yeah, but I still want Patrick Mahomes with the ball in his hand with a game that I have to win.
Also, I think he's still top 3 in third down plays, and he's had some of the longest average third down to go. It's been Mahomes is still incredible, but I digress. Burrow's a superstar quarterback, and he's one of the 6 best in the NFL right now, in my opinion. And it's going to be a real test for a Denver defense that, outside of turnovers, has been playing really pretty poor over the last 3 games, 4 weeks sample size. So I'm not sure how it's going to play out for Denver in this one. You'll have to read the score prediction here when those come out, probably Wednesday or Thursday this week. But this is a huge game for Denver. It's going to be on an island. as well. So everybody's going to see, unfortunately, probably with the game yesterday, Bo Nix's chance for Offensive Rookie of the Year are done. But, that's whatever. That's one accolade. More important just to continue to feel good about him ending the season on a high note. And this is the defense where you're going to have a chance. I mean, it's possible, Scott, this turns into a Browns track meet again, where first one to 35 points wins. But it should be pretty interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and looking at sacks, we mentioned Herbert's sacks. Burrow took in the last weeks, going most recent to older, against the Browns. He took 4, at Tennessee 1, at Dallas 2, Pittsburgh 4, Chargers. LAC to me is still Clippers. Chargers 3 and Baltimore 3. So he's been getting knocked on the ground a little bit too. Probably they're protecting him a little bit better than when he first broke into the league, but still they're susceptible to the pass rush.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And again, it's just going to be an awesome strength for strength matchup for the overall. Granted, maybe not the Broncos defense as of late, but I mean the Bengals are pretty much top 80th percentile on every single offensive advanced statistic. Their offensive success rate is in the 92nd. The offensive pass success rate is in the 92nd percentile. They're in 80th percentile in EPA per pass. And you said on the Falcons show, Scott, one of one is Justin Jefferson as wide receiver, but who's leading every single wide receiver statistic this season is his teammate at LSU, Jamar Chase.
Jamar's good too. Jamar's good too, and I think that's probably a more dangerous combination because I think Burrow's a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. I don't think that's really a hot take, but those guys are pretty special.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I probably would. The issue is Kevin O'Connell versus or whoever is Callahan out here, but who's pulling the strings, right, for the offense there. I'll probably take the Vikings guy, of course.
Cincinnati is the same tree, if I'm not mistaken, and he's had a lot of success too.
He has had a lot of success. I don't know. Kevin O'Connell looks a little
Kevin
different.
O'Connell's been great. Who is the head coach for?
Isn't it LaFleur?
No,
it's Callahan.
Coach. Yeah, it's just like, I was like, it's the same name. Why does it say? It tells me the offensive coordinator on reference and not the coach. Offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator.
Brian Callahan.
Zach Taylor.
Oh, it's Zach Taylor. Yes. Why was it Callahan's over? Where's Brian Callahan? I don't even know. Yeah, Zach Taylor's been good. Well, yeah, he's been good. We'll see what happens in this game. I know we're going to wrap it on up here. I'm really curious to see how the Broncos attack this personnel-wise. The Bengals play, I won't say exclusively. It's not like the Rams or the Falcons where it's, very heavily 11 personnel, but it's almost all 11 and 12. It's like a 75% 11, I believe. And they're top, I think, 6th in EPA per play out of 11 personnel. What they do with Jamar Chase is going to be interesting. He's obviously their best wide receiver, but he's not the boundary exclusive guy. So I'll be very curious to see what they do with Patrick Surtain. I think probably whichever of Chase / Higgins, I'm assuming Higgins is going to play, is on the boundary. That's where Surtain is going to be lined up mostly. But as far as is he going to follow Chase? Well, I don't think he can. I think that probably just you'll see some like third downs and stuff where he will be lined up versus Chase in the slot or anything like that. But I think for the most part, you're going to see Surtain play the boundary, and Bengals are going to try to isolate Chase in the slot. I think it's going to be a heavy Chase slot game.
I think one more key to watch is on the other side of the ball for the Broncos offense is the Bengals don't get after the quarterback all that great. They've only got 30 sacks, which is only 4 off the bottom. And if I start at the Colts and work my way down at 34 sacks for teams that you have played, tell me how this looks as far as record goes. You've played the Colts. You've played the Chiefs, who are like the anomaly in the bottom third with a winning record and not very many sacks. You've played the Raiders. You're playing the Bengals. You've played the Panthers, and you've played the Falcons. You've beaten the hell out of most of those teams when Bo Nix has had time.
Yeah, that's a big one. The Bengals do have a superstar pass rusher, probably the most underrated in football right now, in Trey Hendrickson. But he's the only guy out there for that defense. So again, I really don't think Sean Payton wants to be in a track meet versus these teams. I don't think that plays itself well. But that might be the case in this one because the Bengals offense is so explosive, so good. And Again, I don't think it's a winning formula to have Bo Nix drop back 40 times, 45 times, but we'll see. I'm hoping that Denver, can we get the first 3 drives of that Chargers game throughout the whole game? Because this is a team you should be able to run against. What does Sean Payton's sheet say? Run the ball, exclamation point. I'm hoping that's the case in this one. We'll see. Huge game. I think Denver is going to come out very motivated on this one. Obviously, the Bengals are as well, but I think that Chargers game left a really bad taste in their mouth, and I think that they are going to come out and be ticked. Whatever. I think Denver covers. Whatever they may not win.
Responded well to adversity all year long. You know, what's it going to look like? You just got blown out at Baltimore. You're going to Kansas City. Okay, this is a chance where you could fold up. No, you played that game. You played winning football that day. You just didn't win. That's okay. You know, that's a pretty good team, and you went on the road at the adversity. Okay, you got your heart broken by the Chiefs. In that game, you should have won. How'd you respond? I think the next game was the Falcons. You blew out the Falcons. You know, so whenever this team has faced adversity, and you're facing it right now, this is a gut check moment for the Denver Broncos. They've bounced. Yeah. They've played well, and I expect them to play well. And it's Saturday. I'm glad it's Saturday. Only game playing on Saturday, so all eyes on Broncos on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, it's an island game. There's more games Saturday, isn't there? Is that the only
at the time? You're the only team playing in that time slot.
Yeah, so should be a big one. Denver is still the favorites to make the playoffs as the 7 seed. Their chance for the 6 seed are pretty small after losing to the Chargers. It's kind of a weird spot because, like, if the Chargers win and definitely secure a seed above Denver, that might actually help them in the end make the playoffs, but it's obviously going to hurt their chance to get the 6 seed because you don't want to have a 3-way tie. 3-way tie, Denver's out. There's no way in heck their conference record is too poor. So hopefully that's not the case. And that's 2 more losses in the conference as well to get to that 3-way tie. So we'll see. A bad week for Denver overall. Luckily, I don't think anybody got seriously injured that I'm aware of. We might get Moss back, but as far as the teams that we needed to lose, every single one won, unfortunately. One positive, though, for the Broncos, before we get on out of here, Scott, just kind of schadenfreude, I guess, is the term for this. But shout out to the Raiders beating the Jags yesterday. The Raiders had either the 1st or 2nd overall pick, and they beat the Jags, and they drop all the way to 6 overall. So a team that's absolutely desperate for a quarterback. Now they might have to trade up for a quarterback in a less than stellar quarterback season. So I'm hoping they give up multiple firsts to go up and take a bust. That would be fantastic. And the Raiders just continue to circle the drain as the Chargers with Herbert and Harbaugh, obviously the Chiefs with Mahomes and Reed, and now the Broncos with Peyton and Nix looking pretty good. While the Raiders did a Raider thing, and you obviously players should not be trying to lose or tank games, but big picture, that could hurt them in the end with so many bad teams all consolidated together.
Yeah, and the coach, again, coaches want to win, players want to win. Mm-hmm. The bigger picture is different. Once you get on the field, again, there's things that you might not do, but when you get out there and you start getting a little belief, you start playing a little bit harder. Maybe I hit that guy a little bit harder on special teams. I take on a block, that's guy coming through the hole, Yeah. So in the big picture, yeah, you're probably hoping they lost. And Schadenfreude, taking happiness in the misery of others. That's German, and it's very German. That's what it means.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to Drew Lock yesterday. I'm glad those days are gone. What a game from Drew Lock. The terrible fumble, 2 pick sixes. And man, I wasted too much time, Scott, on Twitter on here being like, yeah, I don't think Drew Lock is that good, folks. Maybe not to dance on the grave there,
but he took a delay a game or had to use a timeout, and Brian Daboll's just losing his mind. I'm like, that looks familiar. That looks familiar. Drew Lock, God bless him. He's made a lot of money and had a lot of fun in this league, but I don't want him under center for my team.
No, yeah.
He'd be somebody I wouldn't mind playing around the golf with or, hanging out with and stuff. And he's Drew Lock. You've moved on from him. And now you got Bo Nix, who is kind of the antithesis of Drew Lock as far as personality. And I wouldn't say tools, because Drew's a hell of an Bo's a hell of an athlete. But as far as personality goes, you've got the anti-Drew Lock under center right now.
I think Drew's got a little bit more natural arm talent than Bo Nix as far as the velocity.
It's not as far away as their personalities are. Their personalities are on completely opposite spectrums. Their athletic traits are closer.
I think Nick's is a better athlete. Drew's got a slightly better arm, but the difference is that Drew Lock just cannot. He listens. Did you ever watch the most recent Spider-Man where Willem Dafoe's listening to the mask? That's Drew Lock on every single drop back. Throw it to the other team. Just throw it in there. Yeah. He just can't help himself.
I get a kick out of, oh man, Sean Payton. What would Drew Lock have been if he'd had Sean Payton as a coach? He wouldn't have been quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Are you joking? I get a kick out of that one. I'm like, Sean Payton would have killed Drew Lock. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
This isn't Madden. I can't just take this formula and this formula. These are personalities, man. That would have been a worse match than Russell Wilson.
He'd have been sent off to play football in Siberia if he was playing for Sean Payton, off to the gulags. But appreciate everyone. We're going to get out of here again. Programming note, no show Tuesday night, Christmas Eve. Be with your families. Watch some old Bronco games if you want, whatever helps you there. And won't be here Wednesday morning either because it's Christmas morning. We're also not going to be here the 31st, New Year's Eve / the 1st as well. So it kind of falls on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Luckily, my internet held up today for the most part, Scott. So I don't know. My cord still sometimes decides to do some stuff, but
what happens as you get older.
Excuse me. Brought to you by somebody, but we got Michael coming in here saying, great show today. Nick and Scott and Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. Go Michael. Appreciate you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. Have a good holiday as well. Hopefully you guys, again, stay warm. Also, just a quick shout out. I know the holidays I'm home with family and, Scott's going to go off and have some fun with family here after that, but it's also a tough time of year as well for a lot of people. So, make sure you reach out to the helplines, suicide prevention, you're not alone and anything like that. So again, you're definitely not alone. You deserve to be here. And we appreciate all you guys coming in and hanging out with us today. Lots of love to all of you and a lot of thankfulness for everyone in here as well. Thankful for Scott and everybody. Have a great one. Want to say thankful to everybody coming in with the super chats today. Gatorade Gaming, of course, as my internet looks like it freezes for 1 second. I'm here. Michael Ronquillo, Gatorade Gaming, Patrick, of course, David Carmelo. You guys are great. Thank you for supporting the show. Also, make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott's at Scott Kennedy. I'm at Kendell MHH. Also, we're over at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, we're on Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And as that banner says there underneath, please subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube. Scott, any final thoughts?
No, just again, the expectations have changed a little bit. Don't let what's the phrase? It's like, don't let perfection be the thief of joy for good. I don't remember what it is, but something like that. It's like, guys, this is a good team. This has been a good season and it's still going. I expect this team, I'm picking them to beat the Bengals, and then it could be an 11-win team. That's good. You're not going to win all of them. That's okay. We said 3-1 over this stretch of the final 4 games. You're still on track for that. So let's see. I'm looking forward to Saturday afternoon, and I guess the next time I'll probably see y'all is, well, I'll be in around tonight for MHH, and then tomorrow night for what show do you do?
I'm not going to be here tomorrow because it's Christmas Eve. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe I won't be here on Christmas Eve. Enjoy the holidays, everybody. Whether you celebrate or not, you'll get some time off. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Again, make sure you guys are reaching out. Comparisons the thief for joy. Well, I'm comparing all you guys, and you're the best. So we also got Marcus coming in here. I'll go ahead and click on it. Scott. There we go. Great show today. Go Broncos. Thank you very much, Marcus, for the across the pond there. Is that the... I don't know what that is.
Euro. We haven't seen the Euro in a while since Ethan hasn't been hanging out with us as much.
Hope he's doing well. Merry Christmas to everybody, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. Happy holidays, the Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, togetherness. Appreciate everybody. Have a great one. Continue to choose kindness and compassion. Go Broncos.